Hi, I'm Zach. I've been a software developer for the past 12 years and a marketer for the last 7. I run a marketing and software development agency where we've generated over $13 million in revenue for our clients. Recently, I've started doing less client work because I've decided to start 2 new software companies. Of course, this is not recommended. Usually you should just start with one. But one of them I've already been working on for the past 3 years. I've invested over $100,000 in its development so far. It is Salend. This is not an ad for Salend, so don't worry. But basically I'm just talking about how I came up with the ideas for the 2 software companies and why I'm making them. So the first one is Salend, like I mentioned. It's a CRM platform, which, as I'm sure some of you might be thinking, why on earth would you pick probably the most competitive niche with some of the most well-funded companies in the world to start a business in? And really, the reason is because why not? In every industry, no matter how big your competitors get, you always have the choice to compete. You should not shy away just because somebody else is more well-funded than you. Now, if you were a tire shop and you opened right in front of another tire shop, but that tire shop has unlimited funding and can just sell their product for free for the rest of time to run you out of business, this would probably be a bad idea. Now, in software, or even hardware, there is a difference of preference. And I would argue that even if you were in that situation of the tire shop, there are still things that you can do to stay in business and to possibly succeed. And basically, the simplistic reasoning would be that there are people who want something that is free, and then there are people that want something that is to their preference. Now, many people, and I understand, if you are one of them who does not care, then I would argue that that is only in certain things. And in other things, you do always have a preference, and you will pay a premium for that preference. But anyways, we're not going to talk about the tire shop too much. But in matters of software or things like hardware, why do people pay more for iPhones when they are essentially the same technology as an Android phone or some lower priced competitor? Well, because they like how this one works better than that one. Why do people use this spreadsheet app versus that spreadsheet app? Why is it that there are any note-taking apps on the App Store that can exist for more than $0 when the Apple Notes app is free? It's built into the phone. Well, that is because people have preferences. A feature set does not need to be superior, it might just be different. Now, I do believe that some of our features are superior, more intuitive than the major companies. And that is primarily why I've invested in this product or service. But really, you can always steal away market share, especially when a competitor has become too big to innovate anymore. If we are to think of an animal in nature, this might seem like a strange parallel, but it also does relate to monopolization. If we are to think of animals in nature, what happens to an animal that starves? It dies. What happens to an animal that gets too fat? It becomes immobile, it can't get around as quickly, it can't hunt properly, and so it does starve back down, right? Now, companies, the bigger they get, the more complexity comes up, then also the slower they end up moving because of that. They also get to such a size where they cannot take on smaller opportunities just because it does not move the needle. If a fat animal were to trim back down and become lean again, it would be able to hunt again. But when a financial entity, which is abstract, not natural, starts to trim back down, usually people abandon it. They stop investing in it. Not many investors want to reinvest in the company that it seems to be dying, which it makes sense, right? Because it's not something so simple that it just needs to eat something, whereas an animal, it is that simple. So when these larger companies start to decline, like if we think of IBM, Xerox, Intel, when they start to decline, even though they used to be supreme, then they tend to keep declining. And this is sort of the life cycle of companies that we always see. They have a very steep increase and then a peak, and they just stagnate and usually just dwindle down into nothing over a long period of time. Now, of course, I'm not meaning to invest for the next 30 years for Salesforce or HubSpot to slowly dwindle into insolvency, but I do believe that they are too large to innovate, and so they will just become sort of mediocre in their offering. As evidence of that, Salesforce cannot grow their company without buying more companies. And they are large enough now that they have to be interfered with by regulation in order to make sure that things stay fair for the landscape. So really, they are just too big now to really do much of anything. But my goal is not to become some monopoly of software companies. It's just to make something that works well and that people can use for their businesses, and just to make sure that things run smoothly. It's just to make a better product that is simple. I do not want to make a software company that becomes an everything app. I have no interest in that. I mean, I'll never say never, because you never know what circumstances you can be in, but I wouldn't be making this with the prospect of selling this to some of those large companies and for them to just ruin it. I want something, I like making things better. It's not just, you can make plenty of money without getting into that realm of things and needing to sell it to some mega quasi monopoly company. So our focus on this has been making sure that user experience is really good. It of course is not the best. I don't have millions of dollars to invest in it and just keep improving it all before we have customers. We need to get our best version 1 out there, which we have just released it. I'll put a link in the description if you want to just take a look at it. Basically, we want to make as pleasant of a user experience and make it easy for salespeople to sell, or business people to sell for their business, to manage their incoming leads. We just want to make a good CRM. We don't want to make a CRM that does every possible thing that you could think of related to a CRM. We just want it to work well. Just very simple. Just CRM features, messaging features, email features, phone call features, the things that are directly related to communicating to leads. Besides that, we don't have any interest. There are already many integrations that we would need to do just for that feature set. We're not gonna be incorporating AI blog post writing, as I've talked about and complained on social media. We're not gonna be doing SEO management and SEO content creation and social media scheduling. No, those are not the role of your CRM. If a lead comes in through the social media, it will be imported into the CRM. It's not also a marketing tool that is separate, because really that would be a separate department anyways. So it doesn't make sense why it's all mixed. It might seem like quite a simple thing, but if one were to truly go and examine all of the product offerings, they'll see there really is a big gap in the middle. A lot of these CRMs, they will tempt people in by getting them in on a very low-end free plan with basic integrations. But as soon as their company starts to increase in size even a little bit, suddenly they might go from, paying $40 a month for their CRM to $900 a month. And it's just a huge gap just to offer basic functionality. They will also charge you based on the number of contacts that you end up having, which kind of makes sense in that the more sales opportunities you have, the more you can afford to pay for your CRM, because technically you're making more in revenue. But I also find it kind of strange to tax the business owner for their success linearly with their sales. There's an argument for it to be made in payment processing. If the customer's happy with it, I don't think it's dishonest or anything, but I don't like it when I'm a business owner and they start taking a percentage of my revenue like that, or disincentivizing me from having more leads or more contacts. It's just a strange sort of pricing model. It makes me think maybe at the end of the month, maybe I should just delete 50 leads just to fall below the threshold or something. It just starts putting strange thoughts in your head, and I just don't like that. I just don't like pricing models like that. I don't like their interfaces. I don't know anybody that likes their interfaces. They are very good at sales reports, but that is not the primary function of using the CRM. The primary function of using the CRM is actually to communicate with the leads. So it needs to be focused on the purpose. Now, B2C products, they are never like this. B2B products, they are like this all the time because employees have to use them. They are just told to use what they are by their employers. But this is unfortunate because it's also hindering productivity. It's also making the employees frustrated with the system. They don't know how to use it, or it's annoying to use, it's very redundant, and I'm sure we'll make some of those mistakes along the way, but our goal is to not have those issues. It is to make it as streamlined as possible, to make it as easy as possible. So we're starting this out, and we're going to work very closely with every one of our clients to make sure that it gets as close to perfect as we can get it, and then we're just gonna keep refining it, and that's it. And it's just going to be a good CRM. It's not gonna become an everything app. It's not going to add features for the sake of adding features. Because it's human nature to get bored with things, we might have to tweak interfaces to keep things fresh. But just know, my goal is never for it to become more than a CRM. If we need to do something else, that's a separate company, separate product, separate software. That's it. So this is my big investment for the CRM industry. I will cold call companies to sell it if I need to, and I will take market share that way if I have to. And that's totally fine. I don't need it to become $1 billion company. It is not even my interest or my goal. Software that I want to exist, that doesn't yet exist, I might as well make it myself. And so this is an example of that. It's taken 3 years, which is a lot longer than I would have hoped, but I was working myself the majority of the time on client work. So I actually had to pay for a lot of software development and designers, copywriting, etc. Many different things. I recently had this little animation for the home section made, which is nice, but even that, I just got some critique on it today, and so now I have to upgrade it just to make it clearer. The critique made sense, so I'm going to upgrade it for that reason. I was planning on making it slightly different anyway, so the critique actually helped me to kind of realize what I'm going to do with it. But yeah, so that's my CRM. And then the second software product is Fincaster. So Fincaster, it was made to solve my problem of budget forecasting. With lots of research, I eventually found out that that is what this type of budgeting would be called, budget forecasting. But basically, it's a budget that allows you to project into the future. So, because if you have a set budget and you have recurring bills and you know what your income is going to be, then you should be able to know exactly, if you just add up the credits and debits, what you're going to have on this day and that day and that day. But it is very difficult to visualize that, and you can't really do it with normal budgeting software. Now, I, being a business owner and freelancing and whatever you want to call it, I have more complicated finances than average. And so this type of budgeting, by using spreadsheets, it was very helpful for me. And so for the last 2 months now, I've been working on the software. I've stopped working with my main clients, and so I've had more time to work on it. But because I'm working with less clients, I also have less income. So it's been like a race to get these projects out the door. We've just launched Salend, so we're marketing it now. We'll see how many clients we're able to get on quickly. But for Fincaster, we haven't been able to publish it yet. I've had some beta testing, and that's promising. We've got a new landing page coming, and so once the new landing page is up, then I'm going to be able to launch it. Hopefully, some of you on YouTube have expressed interest in it. So I'm excited to see how everybody likes it. But basically the point of it is to be able to project your budgeting out into the future. And because business owners or freelancers usually have a little bit more complicated finances, that is the niche that we're going to start with to help business owners and freelancers be able to understand their finances, make decisions more easily, have peace of mind. What is going to happen if this client pays me on this day instead of that day? And how bad is that going to mess me up? Oh, I have to pay James on Thursday, but then I have to pay Jane on Tuesday. But what if client A doesn't pay me until Wednesday? How's that gonna change things? Maybe I could shift this payment to that day. It gives you all of this that you might have had in your head and been worried about. It's fully designed for those situations, and it will just take all of the uncertainty out of the equation. You'll be able to manage it all much better. I've probably invested about maybe $8,000, I would estimate, so far in that idea, along with maybe 3 weeks of my own time actually working on it. So it's significant already, but I also am very confident in that. So I have two very different products in a similar category, in that Salend is to target business owners, salespeople. It can be used by freelancers to manage their incoming leads, but Fincaster would also be able to be used by business owners and freelancers to manage their finances and project their finances into the future, gain more clarity, make better decisions, know what initiatives they're able to take on. I recently used it as I began working with less clients. I was unsure, what's my burn rate? How am I going to be able to manage with receiving less income and right now investing all this money in these projects? And thankfully, even with the version 1.0, I've been able to navigate financially just fine. And I was able to know that in advance, thanks to the alpha version of the app, Fincaster. So if anything, that made me just even more confident that it's a good project to start selling. We're going to be selling Fincaster for $30 per month for the basic version and $40 a month for the more advanced version for larger companies. The majority of people will be able to just get by with the basic version, or essential, I think we were going to call it. Salend, at the moment we have the pricing set to $50 per user per month, which is competitive with similar offerings with the popular CRMs, but we're going to be very hands-on and offer much better customer service to all of our first customers, making sure that we prioritize their integrations, that we're communicating with them faster than they would ever communicate with any of the large companies, making sure that they're prioritized and fully taken care of. So yeah, I've been working like crazy on these projects for the last 2 months, trying to get them out the door. We're running ads for Salend now. We're getting trial signups. Now that we're getting people coming to the page, we're gonna be continuing to improve the page to get the conversion rate up, learn more about the users that are coming in, what their experience is. We've got a nurturing sequence set up in the emails. We have the email nurturing sequence ready to go for Fincaster once the new landing page is up and the basic features are done. So yeah, it's really exciting. It's also, I mean, I don't even know what it feels like when you're stressed. I just don't really believe in even thinking about being stressed. I don't think it's useful. But, you know, it's a lot to think about. So trying to get these products launched. But yeah, I'm optimistic. I know that they're useful because I'm using them and they definitely work. It's just a matter of getting people to try it out and to really get into the habit of using it. I think the hardest part is the beginning, and after things get going, then it's sort of like a snowball effect. Alex and Layla Hormozi, they'll say this quote, like, volume negates luck, which, you know, I mean, I don't believe in luck anyways, but I mean, there's like positive probabilities, positive probabilistic occurrences, I guess we could call it. But basically, you know, if you work hard enough, then you can make your own luck, so to speak, which I definitely believe in that. Like, you can, if you work hard enough, then you will give yourself enough opportunities to have made something positive for yourself. So, you know, if you go and talk to 1,000 people, you're probably going to sell at least a few of them. If you talk to 10,000 of them, then definitely even more. So just keep talking to more people, get more stuff done. You know, like YouTube. Right now I'm at 63 subscribers, which is very cool because I didn't even think that was going to be possible so quickly, but I challenged myself to post every day. And so then it's only been about 9 days and it's already gotten to that point, which is very cool because I didn't even know what to make videos about. And now we're just rolling out videos every day. Of course, you guys would probably like the production value to be a little bit nicer, but this is going to be what it's like for a while. Plus, we're just going to make this trend of raw content. We're going to make this trend, right? Many of the really successful guys will say, oh, I wish I could have seen a vlog of Jeff Bezos building Amazon from day one all the way to now. Don't worry, I'm not comparing myself to Jeff Bezos, but I'm also not going to make a vlog. But basically, this will follow sort of that principle in that I'll document the process of building it. You know, right now, things are not successful yet. I mean, I've had success in the client service business before this, right? But these two products are not successful yet, but I'm going to make them successful. And so I'm sort of calling my shot. Even if both of them don't succeed, doesn't really matter, but I'm going to do whatever I can to make them at least moderately successful. Not shooting for billion-dollar companies or anything like that. I don't really care about that. I would like them to contribute significantly to a large number of people's lives, whether it's their work life or their personal life. Whatever is fine, as long as it contributes and improves something, then that will have been cool. So that's the goal here. So I'm calling my shot. This is going to be sort of the documentation of these projects that I'm working on. I literally I thought for 2 days and I came up with 2 full pages of software ideas. And there are more of them that I want to do even right now, just because they seem like they would be really easy. But I'm doing my best to focus, at least somewhat, by just doing 2 at once. That is my compromise. I won't do 10 at once, even though I want to. I'll just do 2 at once. And I've already spent too much money on just these 2. Yeah, like I'll see freelancers, I'll see developers on Twitter, and I'm not making fun of them, but it's just like we have different levels to like what we're willing to do, I guess, because I'll see them like all stressed out over like, oh, I've been working on this thing for 3 months and it hasn't taken off yet. And it's like, okay, multiply it by 10 and spend $100,000 on it, and then maybe that would be what like the same thing. Not saying that you should do that. It's just, you know, I think people underestimate what it takes to make larger things and successful things. I would be shocked if I could just spend $5,000 on a software product and it could be super successful off of that. I mean, I know that there's people out there who are able to do that, and good for them. I can't come up with any ideas to get it done for that little. Maybe I'm just not that good at it, but you know, we'll figure it out. I know what software I like to use, and so I'm just trying to make software that I want to use. I am definitely not saying do what I'm doing, spend absurd amounts of money, bootstrapped, like out of your own income, self-fund really big software projects like this without knowing if it's going to work. Definitely not recommending that. And again, I don't recommend most of the things that I do because it just works for me, but you know, it probably doesn't work for other people. Like, I would never go to college. I went for like 2 classes and I was like, yeah, this doesn't work for me. Too slow. Those 2 classes were too slow for me and I just got sick of it. I'd rather just learn by myself, even if I don't learn the same amount of things. And it worked fine. You know, it worked for me, but I'm not going to tell other people to do that, because some people, if you tell them to self-study, they will not do it, but that's just a difference of personality, I guess. So that's my update right now for the projects that I'm working on. I hope some of this was of interest to you. Please let me know what questions you might have about these projects. And yeah, thanks for listening.